Well, we always enjoy receiving your email questions, and we want to take some time to answer them during our Bring It On segment today. Pat, this first one is from Rob, who says, what is the difference between carnal and spiritual Christians?
Well, the word carnal comes from the Latin carne, which means flesh, and the other better description is what Paul says. He is translated natural man, but he uses in Greek the term psychikos, which means soulish. Psuche is the word for soul. The soulish man versus the spiritual man. The people who are natural are led by the lusts of the flesh. And that's why you find gluttony, you have adultery, you have fornication, you have witchcraft, you have envy, you have jealousy. All that stuff comes out of the flesh. It's carnal. And so carnal Christians are those who are dealing on that level. Spiritual are dealing with the Spirit, which takes of God and is in tune with God. God communicates through our spirits. And we've never been told to stir up our flesh, nor have we been told to stir up our psyche, our soul. He doesn't want soulish Christians, he wants spiritual Christians. So if that's a real quick snapshot of what the difference is.
Okay, this is Tina, who says, I'm 16 and a great fan of your TV show. Where did you get the name The 700 Club, and what does the 700 mean?
Well, that's a nice question. Years and years ago, we were struggling. I mean, struggling. And so I thought, as I was praying and researching, that if we could have 700 people who would give $10 a month, we'd meet our budget. I mean,
wow.
That's like 30 seconds now, but
really?
That's it. All right. So I went on and did a telethon, and we got 333. So we got half the goal. So it was a year or two later that we were doing this 700 Club telethon, and we not only got the 700, we got more. We exceeded our goal, and I think pledged $100,000. It was a wonderful breakthrough. Mm-hmm. But we decided when we did a program that 700 Club was like James Bond 007. It sounded like a nightclub. It sounded sort of...
so you.
So me. Yeah, you know how it is. I mean, we wanted to be a little hip, and so we had 700, and that's where it came from.
That's okay. Great. This is Allison, who says, do you think people drank cow's milk back in Bible days? I've been hearing about so many negative side effects of cow's milk that it makes me nervous to introduce my toddler to it.
Well, we weren't supposed to drink cow's milk, but they really had sheep and goats. And they had goat's milk, which was, but they made it into yogurt, and they had, curds and whey. It was yogurt out of sheep, goat's milk. They didn't have, I mean, cows couldn't stand it in the desert, so, but they did have milk from sheep. We don't keep sheep anymore to give us milk. Medically speaking, too, they do say that goat's milk is more bent to human consumption. Well, there were tremendous numbers of people. What are they? Lactic acid intolerance, and there are many people that have sicknesses because of drinking cow's milk. Whatever. People are going now for soybean milk, and that's probably got problems in it too. So anyhow, but in the Bible, that's what they did. What's next?
Okay, this is Lisa, who says, do you think having paid staff in the church is biblical? I don't see any of this in the Bible other than offerings to workers and churches in needs. Aren't all responsible for the work of the ministry? Why should we pay pastors and church staff?
Well, if you want pastor working full time, he's got to have money from someplace, and if you want him full-time calling on the sick and visiting the hospital and preaching sermons and teaching and all the rest of it, somebody's got to pay him. And the Bible indicates that those who feed the flock should share in the milk of the flock. Mm-hmm. So you pay them a salary, or they in some of these churches, they just take all the offerings, or they take 10% of the offerings, or 50% of the offerings, or whatever. Yeah. I think most people would rather have a salary. I mean, most churches would rather have a salary, but the Bible says that a workman is worthy of his hire, and I do think that we have to have paid workers in Christian organizations. Otherwise, they're out scrounging around, or they're poverty-stricken. You don't want that. Running a church is a huge responsibility. Oh, absolutely. It's huge. All right. Is that all? That's all for today. Well, thank you. It is.